alright. My name's Sophie Sparham, and basically I'm a freelance journalist, do lots of spoken word stuff, and I write young adult sci-fi and fantasy books, basically. So I've written my first book, Snow in Hell, a few years ago, and I've just finished the manuscript for my second book, God's Size to Go, which is what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. And my aim within my fiction is to bring LGBT plus characters into my work, basically, and try and normalise them within fiction. And why do I do this? Basically, well, growing up, I became aware there weren't a lot of these characters within popular sci-fi and fantasy. And when I say popular stuff, I mean stuff like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Neil Gaiman books, Terry Pratchett. And, you know, they're totally awesome stories, but there just weren't any real LGBT representation, unless you count Dumbledore, but he's kind of glossed over. As I got older, I discovered there's a natural genre for this sort of stuff, like, and read books like Oranges Aren't the Only Fruit, Stone Butch Blues, and watched stuff like Transamerica, Paris is Burning, Philadelphia, all that sort of stuff, and tried to consume as much of this sort of thing as I possibly could. However, I found that these sorts of stories were set in very kind of normal backgrounds, you know, and the characters focused on normally had quite sad endings, or things didn't go very well for them. And if there was a gay or transgender character within a book that was like kind of happy, they'd be quite a minor character. And I mean, I love Brokeback Mountain, yeah, it's wicked. But I was thinking while I was watching it, just wish there was like a spaceship or something that could appear and just take them up, and they could live a happy life with like an alien cow. That would be cool, but no. So that's where I came in. Now, recently we have been seeing a lot of changes to sci-fi and fantasy genre, and there's been quite a shift with characters like this. And that is why I'm here to talk to you guys today. And that is the main reason why I decided to invent my character called Victoria Frost. Now, Victoria, within my story, she's an artist, struggling artist, as they normally are, from London, and the general storyline is that Victoria goes home one night. She gets trapped within her own mind, which is not a great state of place to be in sometimes, let me tell you. And Time comes to her, the Keeper of Time, and says that he needs help defeating his brother, who's kind of gone rogue and wants to be a god, basically. So before I start talking more about the landscape I created within her mind, the first thing I want to talk about is writing a transgender character as a cis person. So how was that? How do you write a transgender character? Well, the answer is very, very simple. You write them as you would write anybody else, because they're a person. You know, you can't categorise all black people, you can't categorise all white people, or anyone like that, and neither can you with transgender people. However, there were a few things that helped me along to write this character. And one of the gap in the knowledges that I had was, of course, the surgery, or, you know, learning about the transition that takes place that, you know, these people go through, unless they're non-binary. But most people tend to go through a transition. So within my research, something that I decided to do was, there's like, dude, the internet has everything. It's amazing. There was like loads of brilliant YouTube channels with people documenting their transitions, and I learned a lot about the process of surgery through there. I learned a lot about kind of before and after processes, hormones, everything like that, and it was a really, really awesome, useful place. And obviously, second, you know, place to go to is your mates that are also going through it, and spoke to them, you know, as opposed to just trying to build on past representations within books and stories. From this, I learned about all the different types of transitions that people can go through, and the general rights that transgender people currently have within society. So, what decisions did I make when writing? Number one, I decided, for good or for worse, I decided that I wasn't going to reveal Victoria was transgender until halfway through the book. Because I thought, if anyone is kind of new about learning about this subject, or if anyone's coming in fresh, the best way to represent her is as what she is, a woman. And so I thought that I would reveal this halfway through, so that people that might be constantly thinking about, I don't know, the transition process, would see her as a woman from start to finish. The second conscious decision that I made is that within the book, I delve back into her memories and talk about her past stories. And obviously, in that part of the story, she's a little boy. However, I always use female pronouns because again, she is a woman. But the third thing that I decided to do was not represent her gender as problematic within the storyline. That is something that I believe is really, really important to do. However, at the same time, I didn't shy away from talking about her transition, because I believe that when trying to represent something like this, ignoring a transition or not talking about it is not normalising it. It's actually making it problematic. It's giving less visibility to that set of people or that character. And finally, something that many of the books from my childhood didn't do, I gave it a happy ending, which I was very happy about. It was great, and without trying to give away too much. Now, I'm going to move on to the complicated bit. So I confuse myself when I explain this, so I'll try and explain it best I can. The place that Victoria becomes trapped is within her own mind. However, I wanted that to be a place where all minds are kept, and to be the first world within creation of time and space. Now, I'll try and break this down so you can understand it. Basically, within my kind of lore of an architect, which is what all the worlds are called, there's 81 different worlds in existence, and the universe, the place that we live, is number 52. I don't know why. It just seemed like a good place to put the universe, so that's where it is. And the first 15 worlds are the most powerful worlds in the whole of creation within the story. So I thought, right, this first world has got to be some next level shit going on in this right now. So I thought, what can I do? How can I kind of make this a really powerful place? The first place that was ever created. So I decided I would make it the world of consciousness and the world of thought, because that seems like a good place to start, because I'm sure that's where most things come from. And I decided that the other 80 worlds, their minds would reside in this world. So this would be where all the minds and thoughts and consciousness was kept. So while your bodies are generally here doing their thing, your mind lives in that world. It's kind of like a different dimension. And that's in the whole, all the universes and everything are connected through this world. So then this kind of sprung up like loads more questions as I was writing. I thought, right, okay, so these creatures, they got to be pretty good, aren't they? They're the first ones created that live here. So who could they be? What kind of, sort of people are they? What kind of creatures and characters are they? And then I thought, and also my baddie character, who's Tom's brother, he's from this world. And he wants to be a god. So what does that kind of mean? Does it mean, are these people count as gods? How does it all kind of work out? So I spent ages researching all sorts of things: Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Wicca, whatever it was, you named it, I researched it. And kind of had a look at what it kind of meant to be a god, what people perceive a god is, and what people perceive the power of a god is. And there were so many different kind of interpretations of this. There was obviously a few similarities, but there's so many different things. I thought, bloody hell, it's going to be difficult. It wasn't until I kind of watched a kids program called Ben 10 that was on Cartoon Network that gave me the idea of what I wanted to do, very randomly. So in this storyline, there's basically these two most powerful creatures of all creation arguing. And they were so powerful that they had no power because they knew so much they couldn't decide what to do. And I thought, that's it, man. That's it. I've got it. So I decided within this world, those that had true power would not use it, but instead let the minds of the other 80 worlds kind of make their own decisions. And these people would just watch over them, and that would be their kind of role within this world. So whilst Neverless, who's my baddie character, wanted to be like his kind of idea of a god within this, meant frightening people, being destructive, being loved and worshipped, and he completely missed the point of having such power. There would be no gods in my actual story. However, I wanted to leave the possibility of the spiritual world, gods and religions totally open. But instead, the creatures of the first world would be known as guardians and gazers. So guardians, you've seen Pinocchio with the little cricket, yeah? Like the conscience, they would be kind of like your conscience. So they would be assigned to watch over a few minds and make sure everything was ticking over. While gazers would look over all the minds of one world and a few selections of guardians. As for the world itself, I decided I couldn't give it a static state. Everything and every person could change and morph, and every mind and every person would interpret the world differently depending on what they kind of see. and how they see it and their experiences that they've got. So, how do you write a world like that? Well, it was very interesting. The main thing that I suppose that I did was, instead of dialogue, like how we'd have like speech bubbles and whatever, instead of doing that, I wrote the text in italic that the creatures spoke because they were communicating through thoughts. And that was kind of the main thing that I did differently. But I thought the best thing to do would just to read you like a little extract of it. I thought that would be the easiest thing to kind of communicate across. So this is taken when Victoria's conscience, Jason, is travelling to the centre of this world called Mother for a council. There was a place so unimaginable that no mortal dared dream it. No tongue dared speak it, no star dared shine upon it, and no bard dared dedicate a single note to it. It could not be found by map or lost in time. It had no soul nor grew no heart. It was at the centre of everything, so they called it Mother of Asbar, for this was where existence had begun. Jason was scared. He had travelled to Mother many times, but something about this visit felt different. The change was coming. He could feel it. Jason travelled far. He walked across the desert of bones, he walked past the angels' portals and the mountains of thought until he knew it was almost time to enter the open sky. It was the only place in the first world where thoughts and ideas could not go. The emptiness always sent shivers down his spine, yet he walked out onto the nothingness, and he continued to do so until he saw other tiny specks before him. They travelled by foot, they travelled on wing, some moved by powders, concoctions, or simply pure determination. They chose their own forms, and like the seasons, their own forms constantly changed. Jason remained human. He'd found it comforting of late. The journey was both 2 paces and 2,000 miles because this was the one place in the whole of Nargothrond where time had no power and distance didn't exist. Soon shapes, hills, buildings, and features began to materialise around him. He had felt the nothingness. He was here. He was in Mother. Thank you. That is it.
I'm sure we got some questions for you. If you would, so yeah.
Did you ever think of trying to find a new pronoun instead of he, she? Did you ever think about trying to play this? Because everybody does.
It was something that I really struggled with because, like, there's no genders in this, like, in the first world. And like all these characters, like the reason he's called Jason is that's just how she sees him, because she just imagines him as this like boy. So that's how he's represented to her. But the moment for the creatures, I'm using they, them, and theirs. But it's quite confusing when you've got a group of them.
There all the time. Right?
Yeah, but I'm trying to I've looked at stuff like Z, J, all this crazy stuff, and I think that will probably be the solution because it's like they and them are fine, but when you've got a big group of them all talking together. Like they said, it's like, they all say that as a group, or did they say that individually? It's one of the many problems of genderless people.
And what about in the character development? How do you go about that process? What comes in the mind?
In terms, so she has to basically, the whole point, I make her, she lives within her memory and has to deal with her past and because she's basically legged it from her family. So it's about kind of her accepting herself as a person. So she starts off as quite a nervous person and towards the end it's all great, everything is resolved. So yeah, that's a general idea. I'm working on.
Well yeah, you've been very concise and under time at the moment. Any further questions at this point?
Did you say it was a graphic novel or just?
No, it's just a book. I would like it to be a graphic novel because it's just so hard to communicate a world like that. Yeah, it was really difficult. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Sure.
2 questions actually.
Okay.
The first one obviously is where we can buy the book, which sounds interesting and would love to buy it. The second one is, I'm sure you're aware of all the mess that happened at the Hugo Awards and all the
yes,
and all that stuff. I wondered what your impression of the sci-fi and fantasy community was in 2016? What is it like? Where is it heading?
I think it's heading to a lot more diverse places. I mean, I've just recently read a book called Six of Crows, and that's like one of the first like kind of young adult books that I've read, like kind of main gay character that's kicking ass and doing stuff, which I love, and I love the fact that Hugo Awards have got more diverse. I think something that because there's that whole big thing with the new Star Trek film where they made Sulu gay, and everyone was like, "No, man, Sulu wasn't meant to be gay. Like, what are you doing?" I think it's important not to have these characters as token characters. Say we don't have like a black token character or anything like that. I think it's important that they're properly written and properly thought about, as opposed to, oh, I'll just drop a gay character in there because they need to be in there sort of thing. But I'm hoping that in terms of the kind of sci-fi fantasy world that we are slowly getting more diverse, and I've definitely seen a shift. Like I say, within the past few years, I've definitely seen a shift within books of that happening, which is really great. Makes me very happy.
What do you think of Sense8?
I've not seen it, but I've heard many good comments. It's on my list of things to watch. I've heard they said that there's no non-binary characters in Sense8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the director obviously was Matrix.
Yeah. What do you think of Sense8?
I thought it was great.
What is Sense8? What's Sense8? What is it, a series?
It's a series. Like I was actually told to watch it at the pub a few nights ago. So it's on
I can't remember. Is it Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's meant to be quite good for characters.
Is that
like
sci-fi as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's people that have powers that can do stuff.
And about identity, because people do transmigrate in between other people. They get different characters and forms. And
Yeah.
You were telling me about it, weren't you?
there's a particularly strong character who's a trans character. So I just found it, well, and considering that, it's, also if you look at how it's made and the creative imagination of people making it, it's, I think, it's a big step forward in some ways.
I think so. I think the past,
even if it's in mainstream.
Yeah, no, but I think that's good. I think that's a good thing, and I think the past, especially the past, I'd say 5 years, we've had a massive shift. There's obviously like transgender people have obviously been a lot more in the news recently. They've been a lot more made aware of, and I think there's even like Penguin are even doing a competition looking for like LGBT plus writers and stuff like that. And so obviously like publishers and things are taking note and things are moving, which is great because like I don't know, only about 10 or 15 years ago, everything that you get would mostly, if it was a mainstream popular thing, it mostly have a depressing ending, be set at a time, which I understand why, because they want to represent the politics and what was happening at that time, and it's really important to document. But I was like, can't we just have something like happy? That would be great. Like I think that we're getting there now, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I'm interested in how have you, I don't know if you have talked about this, but how do you connect, how is the relationship between the consciousness that is in the first world and person that manifests it in the earth?
Oh, okay. So you mean like how is like the kind of?
I mean, do the people in the earth know that they have that consciousness?
No, they don't. It's just like so the idea came from, I think I read something that's like you use like 10% of your brain or something, and the other bit of your brain's just floating around doing stuff you've got no idea about. So that's kind of a very simple fact I read long ago that kind of inspired the idea. So that's there, like it's constantly there, and like it's all your thoughts and your memories and hopes and dreams and feelings, aspirations, all there, like muddled in the back of the head, like like as if I imagine them as if like say if you're going to work, and you just walk into the train and you have like so many thoughts flick up in your head, like, oh, dinner later, oh, I want to watch that programme, oh, remember this thing. That's how I kind of imagine the conscious world, like a constant place that's constantly changing, just of all. It's not any order, it's just generally just there of all these thoughts, feelings, memories kind of stored, but people aren't kind of aware of that, or that they're being guarded by anything. But yeah, that's kind of how I imagine it. So it's very connected.
So in your world, everyone kind of comes from a big non-binary plasma pool of like whatever, and then everyone, and then the rest of it comes afterwards.
This is how we're connected.
And if I may say, this is like the basis of magic traditions. It's the idea that we come from one whole and then we incarnate into duality. That's how it is. I mean, like 0 equals 2 in dilemma, for instance. So that's the bit. I don't know if you studied in your researches, you studied Kabbalah, for instance, but the idea of the ideal word is Atzilut, and then it goes back into Bria, which is where it works. It's very Kabbalistic, actually. I mean, it's. I was listening to what you said. It's like, I mean, did you study Kabbalah? It's very Kabbalistic, for instance.
No, we need to talk.
Yeah, of course.
Get your coffee.
Yeah, I just wondered if you think sci-fi in general and you as a writer have any kind of role in imagining new genders and new forms of sexual relation, or whether you think it's more about reflecting changes that are already happening.
No, man, I think we have the capability of doing whatever. Like, there's no limit. There's no limit to sci-fi. I think that something that is important, that I read an article saying that a lot of aliens are represented as like non-binary. It'd be nice to like have non-binary people in that wasn't aliens. That'd be quite like a good role for sci-fi to do. But I think there's no limit. There's no limit to sci-fi. I think it's good to reflect on what's going on now, and I like kind of sci-fi that reflects on like the environment and what's happening. I think that's really important. But I also think there's a role to just push it as far as it will go. I love inventing new stuff. So yeah.
Have you ever read any Caitlin R. Keenan?
No.
Caitlin R. Keenan's fucking awesome. It's totally awesome. That's what she does. Like, and yeah, it's just amazing.
I feel like I need this lady.
Could you repeat the name because the trolley went by?
Caitlin R. Keenan. So Caitlin R. Keenan transitioned decades ago, but she's so prolific, and she started life as a paleontologist, and so a lot of her writing is about how we've evolved and the creatures from the beginning of time, and a lot of it's very fantastical, but there's a lot of sci-fi and stuff in it as well. But it's about hybrid between animals and people and sexes and all kinds of stuff. Which is awesome.
Cool. I'm waiting for my alligator head.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts then? Yes?
What about, instead of illustrating it, having one thing that goes with it, which is kind of like a kid's game, but something that adults could use as well. So you've got something that looks like a talisman, okay? And on that, it's actually a moving diagram. You've got, say, like a number of different levels. You can say like 1, 2, 3, and you can turn it around like a clock, like a zodiac, planets and everything, for argument's sake. But upon that, I define gender roles, as well as ideas, a bit like your tree of life, but pouring it down into a big bowl. Yeah, exactly. Whilst you're working with the book, you're actually kind of trying to discover your own sexuality, other people's, the fluidity of everything going on around you. It's a way that adults can rediscover their own sort of fluid self, and also for young people to kind of grow up and move up and things like that. I mean, when Market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's indeed me.
I've got really good eyesight. I can read
totally
your name.
paying attention there.
Yeah, I mean, something about talismanic magic that I looked at years ago was Raymond Lull. You know Raymond Lull?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So you have what look like talismans, but really what they are is they're revolving diagrams which allow you, arguably, to move from known to unknown information, working with classical rhetoric. You have concepts defined by letters, mutability and things like that. So what you're doing is you're producing astounding connections in the mind. And gender diversity is like that, if it really, really hits you. And if you can move through a story and kind of think, well, actually, what's going on here? Who are these people? And not just kind of negotiate it in your own way, but try to negotiate it in your different way. So the story, you have to relive the story in many different, and it has so many different levels as well.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot
And you
better
end
than
up
Monopoly.
a bit like, you know, like the colouring book for adults, where everyone's like, actually, I really want to colour stuff and stuff like that. You could be sitting there, like, you know, with a bottle of Pinot Grigio, and be like, oh, okay, I'll go and knock on my neighbour's door.
With the new hieroglyphical monas. Yeah. This is from John D. Very good.
It's a lovely androgynous form.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfect, yes.
50 Shades of Sijan and Dayamet.
I'm liking this, people.
So,
There's money to be made.
so Sophie, for anyone who may be interested in following up on your work, how can people access the book that you've written?
Currently, it's still in manuscript form. It's
I
being
see,
sent
sorry.
around agents at the moment. But
okay.
my yeah, just like my name. So it's just like Sophie Sparham. So Spar like the Spar shop and Ham like the meat. And it's just like .co.uk is my like little website thing. Then I've got like Facebook and all that crap. So yeah, man, jump on board.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.